Okay, trimming. So I've laid my bottom pattern on top of my top pattern, and it's not lining up. So you can take some what I call creative license, and I'm going to trim. That's okay. That'll hide when I stitch it. Okay. So you can do this with chalk and scissors. You don't have to run out and buy a rotary wheel. Okay, I have one, so it's just easier for me. So I've done it with this side. Now I'm going to come back and do it with this side. Okay, so that when I sew this together, these ends are going to go together, and this side will go together, and I'll stuff it. So I need to make sure I'm coming here. And this is a mold. This is not a fashion piece, so we're not too concerned about how perfect everything lines up. Okay? Voila. So now what I have to do is I have to turn it inside out. So this is the way I want it to be. Okay? So I'm going to reverse it like so and start sewing with a whip stitch. Okay, now there are different kinds of needles, and my answer on this project is use whatever needle you have. I am using embroidery needles just because they have a really big eye opening so that I do not have to struggle. And I'm using a darker thread so that you can see what I'm doing. Now, if you're comfortable, then go ahead and take out a lot of thread. But if you're not comfortable, this is a good length to get started with. All right, now, it's your choice, but I always say for someone who's just learning how to sew, put a knot in it. So just take the ends around your fingers through the hole, and now gently you're going to tug on the loop and then tug on the ends, because you want the knot to be as close to the end as you can get it without losing the ends. Okay? And that's just a tiny knot. If you pull too hard, it will pull through. Okay? Now, I have a boo-boo here where I cut too deep. So I'm going to just incorporate that into my sewing. All right, now remember, we flipped this. So when I sew this edge and then I flip it out, this is what I'll be showing. Okay, so I'm going to line these up. Doesn't matter where you start, it's just where you're comfortable. And this is a real simple whip stitch. For a whip stitch, you go through, okay, and then you come back kind of like an X, and I want to catch the thread. So see how the loop is going to go like that? Tightened it down. And this is going to happen. Just take your fingers, move it, don't flip out. All right, so basically we're just making loops. It's called a whip stitch. I don't know, because they whipped through doing it. And then every once in a while, if you want to go back and make another one of those X's, just for a little extra stability, you can. But all you're doing is front to back. And notice, I'm not worried that my spacing is weird. I'm not worried that I'm coming in deeper and lighter. This is a mold, okay? This is not a piece of clothing that you are going to use. Don't spend massive amounts of time on this. You're just learning how to use thread and needle to get two pieces of fabric together, okay? And this is all you're going to do. And then when we turn it the other way, this is what you'll see. Okay? Okay. I'm getting close to the end because each time I'm going through, I'm starting to get a little tight, and I'm not getting as much room to line up my needle in between stitches. So when this happens, don't freak out. Okay, this is normal. It happens when you're getting, especially when you're getting to the end of this amount of string. So what you want to do is you want to go through like you're going to do a regular stitch. You're going to pick up the loop that gets a knot in, okay? Then you're going to come backwards into stitches that you've already done. And if you get some fabric, that's okay too. You're going to, oh, don't poke yourself. That is painful. Don't do that. But you're going to run through and you're going to knot it. Okay, now don't pull the knot so much that it pulls the material. But you do want to get a couple knots in here. See that one? I didn't catch the knot that way, the way I wanted to. Okay. I'm catching it to knot it. And if you end up with a ball of thread there, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. So now I'm going to rethread my needle, and I'll pick up sewing here, and I'll keep on going. So I've got this section sewn. So you can see when we turn it the right way, most of our stitching is going to be hidden. Now, I've got this boo-boo right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a whip stitch here, pulling these two pieces together. And I'm going to start a little bit behind where I overcut. Now, if this had been something important, like a piece of clothing, then I would have been really upset because I would have to throw out this piece and recut this section from my pattern. But because this is a mole, all I have to do is a little extra stitching and we're going to be fine. Okay, it's a mole. Don't be all upset if it's got a little extra stitching on it. It's okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be awkward. Very awkward. And I'm going to keep stitching here. And then at some point, I'm going to pick it up on this edge. And I'm going to come back with it. Oops. Don't poke yourself. It's not what you're supposed to do. And this is going to happen. Your thread's going to get caught in another part. Don't freak out. Sometimes you just use a needle like that. Help free it. Okay, and then we just go back to regular sewing. And I'll connect this around, but now you can see when we turn it inside out, okay, that's going to be where my paw is. And yeah, there's a little extra stitching there, but we'll just tell someone that's a scar from an old cooking accident or something. Okay, you can start to see how it's going to look. And again, this is a mole, so don't worry that the stitch sizes are different. It's okay.